What's up, Tim? I think a lot of people have a bone to pick with you at this point, and I feel like I'm gonna talk for most people during this video. So here we go. For those of you who don't know, Tim Walz is Kamala Harris's VP. And no one really knows what he does, why he does it, or why he says the things that he says. But you know, I think that's the beauty of being a human, right? Sometimes we say things that we don't mean. Sometimes we say things that are simply dumb. I personally believe it's one of the reasons why the First Amendment exists. It's because our founding fathers knew that people are human. They make mistakes, they say things that sometimes aren't correct, and ultimately people have to have a filter when they listen to other people.
Because when we think about the strength of our democracy, you know, I think that there's a duality to the nature of democracy. When it's intact, oh, it's so strong in terms of what it does.
And I believe that our founding fathers realized that as well, that people have a filter. People have a BS meter and they say, okay, people should be able to say what they want and it's up for other people to either believe it, call it out, or leave it alone, but just call that guy an idiot, right? Well, we all thought Kamala Harris is bad in terms of being a tyrant. This guy is on a whole new level. And if you're confused on what I mean, there was a couple of things that have been said so far that are just so close to like being a progressive Hitler that we've just gotta call him out on it. So this is for you, Tim. Let's start with the thing you said the other day about our First Amendment.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Great, so you're saying that people aren't allowed to have free speech if it's hate speech or misinformation. Okay, that's fine. How do you control that? Seriously, how do you go up to a normal operating human being and say, you can't say this? You know what they're probably gonna do? They're probably gonna be like, fuck you, I'm gonna say it now twice as much. So what's the alternative on how you would want to control this? You would probably want to put in laws that state that if you put misinformation out there or hate speech or whatever it is, you will be arrested. You'll be charged, like they're pretty much already doing in the country when we've got FBI agents going to people's house over Facebook posts. But let me ask you, Tim, would this apply to you? Remember the stolen valor comment that you made just to promote gun control?
I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
I don't know, that's some pretty major misinformation. So what do you have to say about that? If I were to sit here and question you right now about that, what would you say? Oh, well, I misspoke. Oh, that's not what I meant. What's stopping anyone from having the same excuse that puts out some misinformation? Oh, I didn't mean it like that. My bad. So it applies to us, but it doesn't apply to you, especially on something as bad as stolen valor. You didn't think this one through, did you? But just the fact that you're even saying this, when we have a vast amount of issues in this country that are legitimately problems, you want to just say, oh, well, misinformation. You know what we're doing? You know what that means? You're saying to the American public, you guys are so dumb that we need to regulate free speech because you're too dumb to have a BS meter that says, no, that's probably crap. That's what you want to do. You want to treat everybody like we're 4 years old, and you want to say, well, we'll regulate it for you because you're too stupid to. Is that really a country we want to live in? Like you go home to your wife and you say, you know, honey, I did a great job today. I saved what I think is a bunch of dumb people from hearing some information that they wouldn't be able to tell if it was true or false. If somehow they accomplish this, we will be the dumbest country in the world because they're essentially taking away people's right to decipher what's real and what's not. But he doesn't stop here, guys. Why don't we go into a very similar thought process on what he thinks about guns?
I know guns. I'm a veteran. I'm a hunter. And I was a better shot than most Republicans in Congress, and I got the trophies to prove it. But I'm also a dad. I believe in the Second Amendment, but I also believe our first responsibility is to keep our kids safe. This idea that there is supremacy around your right to have and carry and wield or whatever at any given part of the day has never been part of what this country is.
Look, if you want to take away people's guns and that's your goal in life, fine. It's a free country. You can have a goal of whatever you want, even if it's that dumb. But at least speak with a little bit of intelligence if you're going to address a country that is 100% based on being able to own firearms with no infringements. That's literally what it says in the Constitution, man. Do you need to reread it or do you just not care? I think one thing that we can all come together on, both the left and the right, is that these people are treating us like we are dumb. They're treating us like we can't get on a computer or our phone and type in, hey, why is free speech something that we value in this country? Why is the Second Amendment something that is very important to the framework of this country? If people don't know, you just look it up. But they have a full-on attack going on our First and Second Amendment.
I grew up around firearms. I've hunted my entire life. I own them to this day. I use them in the military. And when asked, I will tell people I was the top gun of the congressional trap shoot 3 years in a row. I know how to use these things. I understand our rights as Americans to do these things. But I refuse to allow extremists to define what responsible gun ownership looks like and to make this about the Second Amendment. This is not about the Second Amendment. This is about the safety of our children and our community.
There's a saying out there, we have our Second Amendment to protect our First Amendment. Because if we didn't have a Second Amendment, what do you think they would legitimately do to us? They would say, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do, full-on communism. But for everyone out there who is going to vote for Kamala and this idiot just because they want the progressive kind of vote, because they want the first woman in the White House, truly think about what you value in life. Do you value being able to be free-thinking? Being able to form your own opinion on things? Being able to say, oh man, this is my thought on this. I'm not changing it. I don't care what the government thinks. Or being able to own a firearm. Those are all things that they want to completely get rid of. Yet people are going to vote for these clowns because they respect being woke in pronouns and whatever else is new nowadays. It's a shame.